Hey guys, today on BAAM Ranch we're talking about the Sefaspe 250 amp multi-process welding machine. We're going to go over the good things. There's a few things that kind of irritate about me. We'll discuss those too, so let's jump into it. So, full disclosure, they reached out, they sent this to me, they paid me nothing for it, and I'll include a link to buy this, but I'm not even going to put an affiliate link in there. If you want to buy it, I'm not even going to make any money from it. So let's talk about this machine. First and foremost, right out of the box, what is this machine for? What's the target user for this? Well, as far as a brand that all of us recognize, like a Miller, the closest thing I can find to this is like the Millermatic 215. And that's like a $3,000 machine. I think this one is around the $300 range. It fluctuates a little bit. That's a big difference. And do I expect this to be the quality and duty cycle and everything else of that $3,000 machine? Absolutely not. Do I expect it to work well and perform everything that I would do, a homeowner, a DIYer, a homesteader? Do I expect it to be able to accomplish those tasks, even if at a lower duty cycle? Absolutely. So let's jump into this thing, what it came with, the features, and give my thoughts on how it worked while I was kind of playing with it. So what will this machine do? It'll do stick, which is the mode that it's on right now. They call it MMA, manual metal arc welding. The rest of the world, we call it gas metal arc welding or stick. It'll do MIG, either gas or gasless, with the flux core wire, lift Arc TIG, Spool Gun. It'll really do a lot of stuff, and it truly is a multi-process machine, just the same as any of your Millers or Lincolns that you would expect from that. It comes with, stinger, obviously ground clamp, the hose to be able to hook up all your gas lines, the MIG gun. Comes with everything you really need except for your regulators and bottles. It'll hold either the small or the large 10-pound spools of wire. I haven't tried it with the 10-pound spool of wire because I didn't have one. What I had sitting around is what I used. It'll go up to 250 amps. And I did try it at 250, and I'm here to tell you, with a 532 diameter 6011 rod, it will absolutely splatter those things everywhere. I don't know if it gets to the full 250 amps, but I know it gets way more than what you can handle with one of those big fat 532 rods. However, 7018 1/8 inch runs those just fine. It gives more power than what I realistically will ever expect out of it. I just recorded a whole bunch of stuff and I forgot to hit record. But anyway, so far, let's talk about the actual accessories it comes with. The MIG gun. So you guys are going to see while I'm going through this video of my demonstrations, especially whenever I was patting a bead on that piece of plate. I had several different rods. I had some 532, 6013, 6011. I had some 1/8, 7018, some 332, 6013, 6011, and 7018. And I was just kind of burning them all on that piece of plate, somewhat guessing at my amperages and stuff like that. So you'll notice me kind of adjusting around, and some of these welds will kind of get better as I adjust those amperages a little bit. But this is just me working with the machine, trying to figure it out just the same as many other beginner welders would do. So that's a little bit of an explanation. It seems to be adequate quality. I don't have any complaints with this, and of these budget welders that I've tested, this is probably the better quality of the ones that I have. Whenever you're feeding your new wire in, if you press and hold the trigger, it speeds up after a while if it's not arcing out, and what that allows you to do is get the wire fed through this long lead without having to sit there and wait for it all day. It seems to be pretty soft and pliable. It's a whole lot better quality of a lead than what came with the other welders that I've tested so far, which has basically just been all these, the other ones have been budget models like this one. By far, this one has the best quality leads of anything that I've tested. But that's it may not be like the Miller quality, but it's where we're going to have to make some sort of a compromise. The ground clamp, same thing, perfectly adequate. It's going to work for everything I need to do, but it's not going to last for 10 years using this thing 8 hours a day. But once again, everything's flexible. It did kind of, you can kind of see with the way it's designed, it wants to arc out on the sides, and it did that a few times. So it's going to be a matter of time before this ground clamp starts to, just deteriorate. But that's no big deal. When that happens, I'll replace it. I'm not going to replace it until this dies, though. It works just fine. The stinger. Of the accessories, this right here is probably the one that I would change first. You can see from using it, it did get a little loose. That's not a big deal. I'll just tighten up the screws here. But it is something I wanted to point out. It does have the multi-positions and everything for you to angle your rod in different directions. But the grooves cut inside the stinger are really shallow and hard to find. So I'm probably going to upgrade this stinger. If I had a bad thing that I wish they would have done a little bit better job on, I wish they would have sent a better stinger. Although this one works, and I'm probably, like the ground clamp, going to continue to use the one it came with until it's wore out, because it's adequate, right? That it does feel like it's going to probably eventually break if I drop it too many times, and I drop and break everything. So I definitely see that coming. But all in all, it works. It does what I need. This does hold either the 1 or the 10-pound spools of wire. I didn't test it with the 10-pound. All I had was the 1-pound flux core sitting around. And that's all of the wire welding that I did with this was 035 flux core wire. It seemed to do just fine. Whenever I first got this machine, I was under the impression that I could independently adjust wire speed and voltage. This is written in foreign terms that I don't understand because I'm an American. Meters per minute, or is that meters per minute? Or yeah, meters per minute and volts. I wish it was inches per minute. That's nitpicking, but I understand inches. I don't understand meters. And like right here, the last place I had it running was about 19.5 volts. The wire speed seemed to be a little bit slow for the amount of heat that the machine was given. And I really thought it was junk until I got to playing with it a little bit and realized you can click here and it gives you some arc length and inductance settings. You can change these percentages and that'll kind of fine tune it. And I was really able, for my skill level, to eliminate all of those wire speed versus voltage discrepancies just in that right there. It does have the 2T and 4T, which we really expect that to be on any machine now. If a machine doesn't have that, it really says something about the... I wouldn't buy a machine that didn't include that feature. Not that I'll ever use it, but if they didn't put that feature on there, they're not thinking through the product that they're developing. I didn't test the TIG. I'm not set up with bottles and everything to do that. I don't have a TIG torch. I didn't test the spool gun. I don't have a spool gun. I don't need a spool gun. So I didn't test that part. One thing I will say about these leads that it came with is these are the longest leads of any of these welders that I've tested so far. Of course, we always want a longer lead than what we have, no matter what. But these are actually long enough that I can plug this thing in here to my 220 power, which I don't know if y'all can see it. I can plug it into my 220 power, and I've got plenty of room to make it outside the garage to weld on something. With most of the other welders that I tested, the leads were really short, and it was kind of a pain. And being able to use it on something that didn't fit on this welding table, I didn't have access to 220 power. So that was a real detriment. This machine is not so much. The leads are actually a usable length, and I really, really appreciate that a lot. While we're on electricity and power, it is only 220. It would have been nice if this had a dual voltage option. I think they could have included it, and I wish they would have. It would be nice to be able to run this on 110 if you needed to, even though it's not optimal. It's nice if you need to, if I need to run out, to 50 yards away from the house. I could take an extension cord and a generator. It's nice to be able to run something like that. This doesn't have that option, but that's how bad are we going to nitpick things? That's kind of, we're searching for something to complain about at that point. I do like that the machine is somewhat lightweight, somewhat easy to handle. You can see I've still got the plastic on there. But it's pretty easy to handle and move around. It's pretty lightweight. Doesn't take up a whole lot of space, especially for me. I've got a really small shop, so that makes a big difference for me. The lead for the MIG gun. One thing I really like about this is this just unscrews. Obviously, you've got to take your wire out, but this just unscrews and unplugs. A lot of the other machines I've tested, you had to like unbolt it and all sorts of things. It was really set up where you couldn't take off the MIG gun, and it was just kind of permanently there. So if I wanted to go outside, weld stick or something, I couldn't do that. It's not really going to make much of a difference with this machine because I'm going to have to use it, kind of in this area because it's the only place that I've got a 220 outlet, which, by the way, I installed this myself. It took about an hour, the 220. I highly advise you spend the $50 and put 220 in your garage if you don't have it. So I guess we need to talk about, what is this? I mean, what do I think about it? The TLDR version is, do I like it? Yes. Would I spend my own money on it? Absolutely. I really think I would. I've tested a few of these kind of budget inverter based welders, and they all seem to work really good. They work every bit as good as my skill level. Will this build a heavy duty winch bumper for your truck? Yeah, it would. This, for a homeowner or a homesteader, as long as you can get it to where the power's at, should have enough power to do almost any build that you would need, as long as it's not aluminum, because it's a DC only machine. It doesn't have AC capabilities. I wouldn't have any issue with this burning in some heavy 3/4 inch plate. I think I'd probably have to let the machine rest, but it's got plenty of power to be able to do it. I was welding on some 1/2 inch plate, just kind of messing around with it, and it worked great. It did just fine. I didn't have any complaints about it. So yeah, I think it's a pretty good machine, and I would absolutely buy it with my own money. Even considering all of the downsides that we've mentioned, I think it's a good buy. I really do. $300 versus $3,000, that makes a difference. It really, truly does.